have made their choice so far, although the door is still open. And what we are going to be working on over the next several weeks is developing a significant regime of sanctions that will indicate to them how isolated they are from the international community as a whole.
Well, President Obama may be pressing to move on sanctions to stop Iran's advancing nuclear ambitions, but are we wasting our time trying to strong-arm Iran into diplomatic negotiations? Joining us from D.C. is former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, John Bloton. Mr. Ambassador, nice to see you this morning.
Glad to be here.
Well, you penned a piece saying that the case for striking Iran is growing, but we're seeing demonstrations over the past few days, of course, on the anniversary of the Iranian Revolution, and a lot of people pouring into the streets. We're seeing the regime turn off the Internet, stop text messaging among this youth movement there. Does President Obama have a point? Is there a way where we can sort of step back here and allow this regime to deal with its own people and maybe democracy will take hold?
Well, I think the regime is dealing with its own people. I think they had a good day on February the 11th, the anniversary of the Islamic Revolution. The regime held together. The opposition did not. They kept them off the streets. So from their point of view, President Ahmadinejad, Supreme Leader Khamenei were able to send a strong message domestically that they're still in charge, and they sent a strong message internationally by saying that they had, in fact, accomplished the enrichment of at least some uranium up to close to the 20% enrichment level, demonstrating they continue to make progress with their nuclear program, continued toward a nuclear weapons capability.
But didn't we hear, though, of course we heard a number of months ago, that the Iranian administration and Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, they were open to having this uranium enriched outside of Iran, and we heard some international pressure, of course, from Russia and China during those proceedings. And then we had some setbacks. But can we now say that it's all for naught and we're throwing the whole thing away?
Well, personally, I would definitely say that, because I don't think there's any chance that Iran is going to be talked out of its nuclear program. I think that's been true for about the last 7 or 8 years, and yet both the Bush and the Obama administrations have kept this effort at negotiating going. You heard the president say in the clip you ran to the Iranians, the door is still open. That's a signal to them they can continue to manipulate us because of the Obama administration's desire to try and resolve this through negotiation.
Why does the burden fall to the United States here? It seems every time we're dealing with Iran, the burden falls, you know this very well from your time in the United Nations, the burden falls to us. But we have heard repeatedly that, look, Israel, if the feel of threat is coming down their turnpike, is not going to wait for the United States to step in. They're going to do something before we even come to the table.
Well, I think that is one possible outcome. Look, if you had to predict today, you would have to predict, based on all the evidence, the most likely outcome here is that Iran gets nuclear weapons. Sanctions, I don't think, will be effective. I don't see any other way to stop them other than the preemptive use of military force. And since I think that the Obama administration has a zero likelihood of using it, basically it comes down to whether Israel is prepared to strike preemptively in its own self-defense. I don't think Israel has made a decision yet. I don't know what they're going to do. But in the past, they have not been afraid to strike where they thought there was an existential threat to the state of Israel itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a fascinating piece that you've written, and I would encourage our audience to go check it out. Google it. John Bloton, the case for striking Iran is growing. That's the piece he just penned. And Mr. Ambassador, always great.